championship round appearance this year, 23-year-old Mark Baker, a former high school basketball All-American from Garden Grove, California. He faces the veteran Hall of Famer, Mark Roth, one of the true talented stars of the game with 32 titles. He's the second all-time money earner, looking for his first win this year. The winner of that match will face Jeff Bellinger of Columbia, South Carolina, a former college champion, looking for his first professional win. In the number 2 spot from Mesa, Arizona, 23-year-old Jim Miller. He's played as a doubles partner with Don Janela, but today he hopes to compete against Don because Don from North Merrick, New York is the tournament leader. He's led since the second round. It was champion here in 1983. Can Don do it again today? We'll see. And now this live shot is of the interior of the King Louie Lanes in Overland Park, Kansas, about 15 miles from Kansas City itself. We're here for the finals of the $130,000 King Louie Open. For the 19th year, we have come back to the heartland of America. It's a beautiful area, friendly people, and they have enjoyed the 128 bowlers that started here earlier in the week. And now, after 42 games, the field is down to our 5 finalists. And in the 5, there are a total of 37 tournaments. The strange part is that one of the 5 has a total of 32 PBA championships. That's right. We'll talk to him in a little bit. But I'd like to remind you, immediately following the Professional Bowlers Tour will be ABC's Wide World of Sports.
This year it's been a little slow for you, and tell us why you do so well here at the King Louie.
Well, I bowl well here, Bo. It's kind of like my home house at home, and the lanes are almost identical condition, and I love the atmosphere. I love the people here.
How about the slow start this year?
Well, I bowled good first 2 weeks, and I was taking care of business at home at the bowling center, and this past weekend I went home and practiced, really worked hard, and it's paid off.
Sounds good, but a lot of the critics say that Mark Roth is starting to go over the hill. Now, what do you have to say about that?
We'll let my bowling ball do my talking.
All right. He'll be back with the first match, Mark Roth against Mark Baker, right after this. Ready to go, Mark. Good luck.
Rangers hockey team. Their #1 fan. Here's a former high school All-American basketball player. From Garden Grove, California, Mark Baker. He has 1 title. This is his first championship appearance. This year, we welcome him back, because last year he was on 4 times. And that's why. Strikes like that. Mark Baker opening up with a powerful hit, and he did it on the left lane. Now, his opponent, who finished 4th in this overall field, 33-year-old champion, has won over $1 million. Pocket, and you'll hear him kick that ball return. In fact, our audio people have a mic there. You'll really hear it.
The form of Mark Roth. He has that powerful delivery, and watch as he gets to the top of his swing, the position of his wrist. It's cocked in excellent position. Watch how his leg drives through the shot, and watch how that right foot whips around, kicking that ball return, just as he lets go of the ball. Good shot.
Mark Roth, his second appearance on our telecast, this being the 11th week. Well, Bowie danced him off the deck on that shot.
The experience of Mark Roth, and definitely, I feel, the greatest natural talent that ever played the game, going against his roommate, Mark Baker, a real tough young competitor out of Southern California. Strong guy.
So he left the 2-5, this 6'3" 23-year-old. We have 2 youngsters in the field.
The characteristic of the championship pair, 19 and 20 here at the King Louie West lanes. The right lane's a little tighter. It doesn't hook quite as much as the left. There, Mark Baker sent the ball wide. Don't expect it to break back on that lane, but because of the lay of the pine, the wood halfway down the lane, it'll hook back on the left lane.
So both professionals, and Mark liked that. He and Mark had a lot of friendly kidding going on before our telecast began, and great respect for each other. And one is 23 and the other is 10 years older. Mark Roth at 33. Looking at the overhead score sheet, taking his time, and look at that hand, Bo. That shows scars of battle.
Many years of bowling wars.
He thought he had lost it completely, but it crossed over. Beautiful. So 2 strikes and a spare for Baker. This is our first match, and now Mark Roth. Mike Durbin, our scorekeeper today, indicating that Roth with a double, shooting in the 3rd frame. Three in a row. 3 titles here, and his very first PBA win, Bo, was right here. It's hard to believe, isn't it, that time has gone that fast.
10 years and 32 titles later, Mark Roth, who is the 2nd man to earn over $1 million in a pro tour, Earl Anthony being the first. Roth digging his fingers into that fingertip grip, that cock position everybody's so familiar with, going for 4 in a row.
And the Professional Bowlers Association, where the Californian, despite 2 strikes and a spare, is trailing by 30 because his opponent, Mark Roth, has 4 in a row. First match, 4th frame now for Baker. He needed that, giving him a double, cutting it to 20 pins. And this is bowling, and how do you score it?
Chris, bowling is a cumulative scoring game. The strike is 10, as indicated by X here, is 10 plus the next 2 balls. A spare, if we had one in the 2nd frame, he would have 20 in the 1st. And let's say he got a miss here in the 3rd frame. Let's say he had 9 and missed. He would have 39 in the 3rd, 48. And
that 23-year-old has a 3-bagger.
And to follow it up, the symbols used in bowling, we saw the strike, that's 10 plus the next 2 balls, the spare 10 plus the next ball, the miss, and then of course the split. That's when the head pin is down and the pins are divided.
And I'll tell you, it's easier to score when you're making nothing but strikes, Bo, right?
Agreed.
Like that man. Now he has 5 frames, 5 strikes.
Roth in just an ideal position as he comes in light on the right-hand lane, saws that 5-pin. Look at that ball drive through into the 4-7. He's got 5 in a row, a 20-pin lead. The only spare so far was that the one rolled by Mark Baker in the 2nd frame.
Well, we were hoping that he could go all the way.
The golden arm swing of Mark Roth. Look at that inside-out release, that wrist snapping, the ball going right over the 3rd arrow, and the ball goes down and finishes just a little late. The 6-pin lays down the channel, leaving the 10-pin. Roth needs this spare to maintain a 19-pin lead.
See that speed? Mark Roth, Bowler of the Year 4 times, including last year when he earned $158,000. One of 8 PBA members to go over 100,000 earned on the lanes. On the other hand, Mark Baker, last year, well, get this, he was 10th, earning 90,240. 3 in a row. Cuts it to 9. Oh, he looks confident, Nelson.
Powerful guy, Chris. I practiced with him down in at the Quaker State Tournament in Grand Prairie. He needed to work on his extension, he worked on his power, and work on his aggressiveness. A big, powerful, strong fellow, but he's been kind of mild-mannered out on the lanes. He complained to me that he wasn't winning enough match games. I says, get tough out there on the lanes. Be a nice guy off the lanes. Get tough out there on the lanes. As you see the fingertip grip, he can take the lead with one more strike.
This happens so often. Come up with that big split, the 6, 7, 10.
He's playing that inside line between the 2nd and 3rd arrows, but he loses the ball a little bit at the bottom of the swing. You see it bounce out there in the front part of the lane. You see Mark raise up at the foul line. The ball goes high, the 6, 7, 10 split. He's got to go for it.
There it is, 5-1 odds for the professionals. Well, it's an open frame, and that's a tough break for the 23-year-old from Garden Grove, California. This is the first match. Jeff Bellinger will meet the winner, but then an open frame after a 4-bagger by his opponent, Mark Baker. Roth now has a 26-pin lead, shooting in the 7th frame, a spare working. This is our first match. We're live from Overland Park, Kansas. And welcome to the club.
Just when Roth had a chance to put Baker away, he gives him a big opening. Here the ball, he doesn't get it far enough to the right, and it cuts right through the nose, the 1-2-3 zone. He leaves the 4, 6, 7, 9. He'll try to slide the 6-pin over into the 7-pin. Watch his feet here as he drives through. Watch that right foot. Kick that ball return around.
So now, after doing consistently well, both pros have open frames, and both opens coming in the 7th. As you see, if you're able to watch your monitor or your television set at home. So now it's the 8th frame for Roth, hoping to come back. Well, in most cases, these pros don't allow the bad thought of an open frame to linger more than the next frame. And there was a good example.
Mark Baker turning back to Harry Golden, the national tournament director, asking for a re-rack. He is allowed 3 in each match, and this is his first one, taking on the right-hand lane, getting a breather. He needs to put a strike up on the scoreboard here, put some pressure on Roth. There's only 10 pins separate the two players, 8th frame.
Oh, yes. All right. 8th frame strike for Baker. Still a very close match. The winner, as you know, in our format moves on. And in this case, this week, the opponent will be Jeff Bellinger, then Jim Miller, then the tournament leader, Don Gianello.
For the 23-year-old bachelor, this is the most important shot in the tournament. He can even up the match with a strike right here.
Okay. Terrific match now here in the first. Started out that way, got a little one-sided at the midpoint, but here we are, as Bo said, all even. Strike up for Roth, 9th frame. Two, 4, 5, 8.
Just spun that ball a little bit too much. That means he turned it too quickly. The ball doesn't bite in the back part of the lane. Leaves the dinner bucket to 2, 4, 5, 8. He must convert this spare to maintain an even pace with Mark Baker. It's going right to the 10th frame. First match.
Oh! What a blessing for Mark Roth. There are various ways to get it. Watch.
Great break. Watch the action of the 2-pin as it goes to the sideboard. Roth is too far to the right. The 2-pin comes off the sideboard, knocks down the 3-pound, 7-ounce 8-pin. As we go to the 10th frame, it is all even. We have a possibility of a tie.
Pressure, pressure. And this is our very first game today. 3 more.
That strike was so important because it kept his count at 3. Roth is going at a 2:23 pace. If he spares here, Baker would have to strike on his first ball in the 10th to maintain that pace. It's who can throw the strikes right now.
Put a little body English on that, and I'm sure his wife Jackie in New Jersey did the very same thing watching.
Roth coaxes this ball in. Look at those eyes to determine what a champion. He can finish with a 2:33 game. We still have a possibility of a tie. If Roth would happen to get 8 or 9 on this ball, Baker could still end up tying the match.
Well, a 2-pin on that left lane, and Mark Roth now has done his job. We look at the shot again.
Roth leaves the 2-pin and finishes with a 2:32 score. Now Mark Baker comes up in a situation where he must strike on this ball. If he doesn't strike, Roth is the winner.
So he is alive and well. Mark Baker.
This one is for the win. The situation for Baker is this simple. If he strikes on this ball, he wins the match. If he gets 9 spare, we'd have a tie at 232. We'd have a 2-frame sudden death roll-off. If Baker gets 8, he loses. We're going to have a tie, Chris.
All
he
right.
needs to convert this spare.
Okay.
We'd have a tie. 232. He needs a spare. He just can't be disconsolate because he lost that shot. He has to convert this 4-pin. We would have a tie at 232. Roth would be the first up on the left-hand lane.
All right.
This for a tie.
So we have a 2-frame roll-off. Great game by both. 232. Well done. And here is Roth, winner of 32 titles. Nerves of steel.
Just like the 9th and 10th frames, starting from 0.
All right, it's exactly what he wanted. Now Baker. Baker will be shooting on the right lane as Jim Miller and Jeff Bellinger are warming up off to our right. That's why you hear the pin fall from time to time. Tough break, 3-6-10 for Baker.
Baker with a conversion here and 3 strikes would have a total score of 55-0. Roth, no matter what happens and Baker does up there on the lanes, could possibly get 60. As right now Baker is grabbing his ankle. I think he hit it so hard on the ball return rack that it sent a little shot of pain up his right leg, but he must convert this spare.
All right, capacity crowd here, Overland Park, Kansas, about 20 miles from Kansas City, about 40 from Lawrence, Kansas, home of the University of Kansas and Haskell Indian Junior College. Heartland.
Once again, the pressure is on Baker. Roth, although he already has a strike up, Baker needs to match that strike right here.
6-10.
Big trouble. He needs to convert this spare as he cuts right through the middle, breaks down the 4-6-10 split. There's the 4-7-6-10 standing. Needs to convert this, throw a strike. He would have 38. That would force Roth to get either a strike or a spare and 9 in the 10th frame.
Mark is 6 feet 3 inches tall, 195 pounds.
Big shot for Baker. He needs to get a strike, put some pressure on Mark Roth. Mark's father, a executive at Security National Bank, knows the difference in the money. I'd like to see him get a strike on this ball.
Winner today, remember this is only our first match, gets $21,000, and he's hot.
That's the shot he wanted 1 frame earlier. Here's Roth for a possible win.
Winner here on these lanes 3 times in his long career. What a competitor. The eyes alone, the look would knock the pins down.
Gets a break, great break, trips a 4. He's the winner. He's going against a very tough competitor. In our next match, you'll see tough Jeff Bellinger coming up. Roth's the winner.
Mark Roth. And in a 232 tie, Roth is wanted. We'll give you his final count. We're going to take a break right now and return for the next game. Now, Roth will go against a collegiate champion, yet to win his first professional title from the University of South Carolina and Columbia, South Carolina, Big Jeff Bellinger. He led after the first round here.
Had a sensational score in the Pro-Am. He bowled a 279 and was upwards of 700 on Tuesday's Pro-Am. Was among the leaders all the way through the week. First shot.
Jefferson, mighty smooth. Jeff Bellinger, 31 years old.
Well, George Pappas, a two-time champion here in '74 and '76, knows this fellow Jeff Bellinger very well. He says that South Carolinian is very tough, especially under pressure, and to watch out. So Ross got his work cut out for him.
Leaving a 10-pin. And George had one here at King Louie, and Jeff Bellinger, high finish, was fourth in 1982 here.
Roth with a really nice shot, despite leaving the solid 10. Hit solid in the hole, seems to have gotten his game right back together. He got a good break in that sudden death tiebreaker where he tripped the 4 in this lane, but he's very smooth now.
Mighty Mark Roth. Again, we'll repeat it. If you missed it, 232 tie. Roth and Baker, 50-38 in a two-frame roll-off. They're battling for 21 grand. The winner, 12,000 runner-up. Down the line, 8,000 third. The loser of this match, now underway, will get 6. Baker won 5,000. And it's exactly the borough where Mark Roth is part owner of a bowling establishment in Brooklyn, New York.
Rainbow lanes, but I'm sure he doesn't practice that shot. He got a good break on the left-hand lane, a crossover, as Jeff Bellinger comes up. Just such a nice young man right here, Chris. An excellent golfer, scratch golfer, powerful forearms. I mean, this guy, when he grabs a hold, it's like getting a hold of a bear. Has a tremendous strike ball. Good wrist action, short swing. When he gets it going, he stays red hot.
Compact guy, 6-footer, 215 pounds. Earlier, we asked him what collegiate bowling did for him.
Well, Bo, basically, my collegiate career led to my coming out on tour. I did well when I was in college, and I won the college nationals in '78 and was on the national team in '76. And it gave me a lot of exposure and basically helped me get a sponsor to get out on tour. And if it hadn't been for the college program, I probably wouldn't be here today.
All right, this 31-year-old married to Phyllis. They are the parents of one child, Kimberly Ann.
Bellinger, by the way, bowled our tournament leader for the college national championship in '77. Our leader being Janelle. Janelle won that match. Or Bellinger won that match.
An 8.
Solid 8. I'll tell you what, this guy has so much power, oftentimes it happens to him. I remember him bowling a 299 game in the Miller Lite Classic down in Miami. He had 11 in a row and left this solid 8, as you see the trajectory of his ball. Now watch the action of the pins. The 1, 3, 5. The ball doesn't hardly even stop. Chops the 5 straight off the 8. Tough break.
Despair at the line. Well, here's another frame. Ends with a spare, marking with a spare in the third frame here in our second match. Mark Roth, a 232 tie with Mark Baker. Two-frame roll-off, Roth 50, Baker 38. Thus, he is here against the number 3 finisher, Bellinger. Roth, third frame. So it's a double for Roth. Winner here 3 times.
Taking advantage of that crossover strike in the second frame. This is the man that holds the PBA record for the consecutive number of tournaments cashed in. He cashed in 51 consecutive tournaments. That's almost every tournament for a 2-year period. Phenomenal.
Mark is proud of his individual championships, but the doubles victory he and Holman did in Las Vegas, he is proud of that. Habit, wide world of sports, the strong men bow, the World Cup weightlifting, and the classy and daring crest of men on that tiny sled, San Moritz, Switzerland. Today, wide world.
Suleimanov has had a lot of ink, Chris, but the USSR man, Solodov, is also very tough in that weightlifting. Very interesting. 2 lifts, the clean and jerk and the snatch.
Oh, he liked that. He walked that one out, stepped across the ball, returned onto the left lane. He knew he had it from the moment of release. Jeff Bellinger, who looks like a weightlifter.
powerful guy, is a great all-around athlete. 6 feet tall, 215 pounds, most of it in the shoulders, back, and forearms. Very determined young man out here as he wipes the oil or conditioner off his bowling ball, keeps that surface clean. Right now he trails by just 11 pins. He had that bad break here in the 3rd frame, had solid 8, or he would be leading by 10.
It's hard to believe he has not won a PBA title yet.
Well, he's had his ups and downs, Chris. He needs a little experience on the tour. He just can't get the right feel as a little perspiration builds up in his thumb hole. You have to keep that really good feel. You have the ball slip off your hand, it's just disaster. That's what happened to Mark Baker in that first match when he got that big split that ended up doing him in. Here's to bring the match down to 1 pin.
Big double for Jeff Bellinger of Columbia, South Carolina.
Now watch the loft on Bellinger's shot as he comes to the foul line. He's playing that deep inside trajectory. See, he lofts that ball about 5 or 6 feet over the foul line, but with his power and strength, he gets away with it, drives the 10 pin out. He trails by just 1 pin. Roth is up.
And Roth has strung 4 now here in his 2nd match of the afternoon. Mark Roth.
The commissioner of the all-powerful PBA Tournament Committee, George Pappas, sitting here right here. He knows the championship pair. He's shaking his head, but as he always said, as Roth gets a 11-pin lead, is not how, it's how many. Roth going for a 21-pin lead, 6th frame.
Wobbly 4 on the left lane. Jim Miller warms up. He will meet the winner, and then tournament leader Don Janello.
In every sport, it's the great champions that can fight through the bad times and still come out smelling like a rose. Roth has not been sharp the first 6 frames. He's kept the ball in play. He has a 10-pin lead with this conversion.
Capacity crowd here at the King Louis West Lanes. Quite a facility here, Bo. You can play billiards. You can ice skate.
This bowling establishment, Chris, is 27 years old, and the King Louis president, Bob Palin, has reminded me that this is the last year for these lane beds. They're tearing up these lane beds, bringing in some new ones. We'll have some brand new lanes in this bowling center next year for the King Louis Open, the 20th anniversary.
High hit, leaving only the 3-pin on the right lane for Jeff Bellinger. You, Bo, was talking about the lanes. Hard times have beset them.
Well, Chris, there's just a lot of games. They do a tremendous business here at King Louis bowling centers, the 36 centers around the country. And eventually the nails, where the nails the bowling lanes together, come right through, and it's time to replace the line. And by the way, those were patches over the nails, wood putty and other wood replacement. As you see the underground ball returning that polyurethane ball that Jeff Bellinger is using. 11-pin difference, 7th frame.
Bo, that means they're going to have to spend a few bucks, right?
I don't know what 32 new lanes cost, but I'll tell you, it'd probably be somewhere upwards of $1 million, Chris. They're putting new ball returns in the whole bit, so the pros will have brand new surface to play on. Of course, these players have been so successful here. I'm sure Roth, he ought to ship these lanes up to Rainbow Lanes in New York and save them for himself.
I heard that you had loaned them the money.
Sorry.
And down on his knees again at the line, Jeff Bellinger, a 4-pin. His reaction, priceless. Oh, he wants that first PBA title so badly. All right, reaching the midpoint now of our 2nd match. We're running a little bit rough. Left a 9-pin. Covered it, marking with a spare in the 7th. Then in the 8th frame, a strike. He has an 11-pin lead over Bellinger, at whom you're looking, a spare working. 8th frame for the South Carolinian. Welcome strike for Bellinger.
What a truck he just rolled down there. He just smashed all 10 pins in the pit and really put some pressure on Roth. Roth has been kind of just meandering around out there holding that lead. Watch this ball drive those pins down. Could have been tree trunks he'd have drove those down, Chris. Right now, the 9th frame. We saw the first match between Mark Roth, Mark Baker go to the pivotal 9th frame. Once again, it is the frame that can change the match around. Bellinger trails by 11. If he strikes on this ball, it'll be just a 1-pin lead for Roth. Big shot.
Another one, an 8.
Unbelievable, Chris. In the 11 years I've sat here with you, I've never seen anybody get 2 bad breaks like that in one match. Look at this, the biggest shot of the day, a solid 8. Takes it in a gentlemanly fashion, but there's a lot of money at stake here. Not only his first title and a ride to the Firestone, but many thousands, 21,000 the winner here. It's not over yet. He must convert the spare, though, to keep pressure on Roth. Unbelievable.
A lot of disbelief on that face that it had his second solid 8. Well, but wisely concentrated, marked with a spare in the 9th. But here's Roth, strike up in the 8th, shooting in the 9th. So a 2, 4, 5, 8, the second bucket for Mark Roth this afternoon.
And remember how lucky he was to convert that first one. It was a difference in the match. Roth almost like saying, gee, I shouldn't even be close in this match the way Bellinger's throwing. Kind of threw a lollygag shot out there and left the 2, 4, 5, 8. Needs to convert this to stay in the lead. He got a break on the shot in the first match.
All right. We're in Overland Park, Kansas, suburb of Kansas City, and Overland Park ever growing. It's amazing, the construction going on in this city south of Kansas City. It's a beautiful area, Bo. It's you have the Missouri and have the Kansas and the Kaw rivers. It's rolling and pretty.
Beautiful farm country just west of the Missouri line. Overland Park, 80,000 population. Roth can lock it up with 2 strikes.
Averted the split, leaving the 3-pin.
But on this shot, Roth gives Bellinger a chance to go into a tie again. Look at this, Roth to shut him out. Goes right through the heart, breaks down the 3-10 baby split. A spare and a strike would give Roth 227. If Bellinger can strike out, he would also have 227. We've never had 2 ties in one telecast before.
All right. Other finishes, Mike Durbin 50th, Ernie Schlegel's, if we look at Bellinger, 52nd, Neff 59th, Steve Cook 65th, Walter Ray Williams 75th. It's quite a tournament, 128 professionals starting here.
The scoreboard is not exactly correct, Chris. He must strike on this ball to end up with 227. If he doesn't strike, he could still lose the match. Now it's right, 227.
That to go with a 232 in the first game, a tie, and a 2-frame roll-off 50 to Mark Baker's 38.
3 strikes are necessary for Jeff Bellinger to end up with a 227 tie and go into another tiebreaker with Mark Roth. The graphic tells the story. Must strike on every ball.
Attention now for the 31-year-old non-winner. Solid. Okay.
If he strikes out and ties this game, Chris, I'll have to put this game in as one of my all-time favorites on the championship round. He is so determined. He should have won this game way back in about the 5th frame, but yet he still needs 2 strikes to tie. I think the greatest match I've ever seen, the most aggressive, was Steve Cook at the Firestone when he started with 10 in a row. Once again, Bellinger needs 2 strikes to initiate another 2-frame roll-off.
Remember, Mark Roth has finished. Shot at 227. So it's up to this individual. Careful preparation. Ooh.
It's got to be right. You have to have that hand nice and dry. And until you've stood under these lights for that much pressure, you just have no idea how that heart is beating and how that perspiration flows.
And mouth is dry, no doubt. Well, a 4-pin disallowed. This man, Roth, has won his second match.
If he didn't have bad luck, Chris, he'd have had no luck. That's the unluckiest game I've ever seen a player lose in a championship round. Bellinger deserves a better fate. I'm sure he'll be back to be a winner.
Jeff Bellinger of Columbia, South Carolina, pat on the back, 227 to 217. And now, the young man from Mesa, Arizona, will take on the great champion Mark Roth after this. 2 matches, close for Mark Roth, but in a tie, he won the first 50 to 38, then now has a 10-pin victory over Jeff Bellinger of Columbia, South Carolina, 227 to 217. Immediately following, as it does each Saturday, Arizona on the right, Jim Miller, striped shirt, will try to stop 32-time champion Mark Roth. Jeff Bellinger couldn't, 221 to 217. Mark Baker tried. They tied after regulation, 232 all. 50-38 was a 2-frame roll-off. 23 years old, has 1 PBA title, a good one. Jim Miller, 5'11", 145 pounds. Roth, 5'11", 185 pounds. So bowling is a game for all sizes, all shapes, all ages.
In all angles of attack to the pocket. Roth playing that inside line, much similar to Jeff Bellinger, who he just snuck by. Miller playing the outside line.
And Mark Roth, who defeated Jeff Bellinger with 6 strikes, starts with a powerful one here.
The only top player with a 6-step delivery, Mark Roth, bowling's active all-time leading money winner. Watch his right foot as it drives right into the ball return rack. Then the loft out about 6 or 7 feet over the foul line. The result was excellent. Strike, natural ability, instinct player.
That high hit has left him this 3, 6, 9, 10.
Jeff Bellinger just stopped by, very disappointed after that last match defeat by Mark Roth, and he says, why this didn't happen a little earlier? He says the left-hand lane, lane 19 at King Louie West, hooks a little bit more. That's the reason that Roth went high on that shot. 3, 6, 9, 10, the toughest spare for the pros.
Got it. Mark Roth, his 87th television appearance. And I've been doing it all 24 years, and it seems like he's been here forever. And what excitement he's provided for bowling fans all over the United States. And down the road, this 23-year-old may do the same. He has a strike up now, shooting in the second. Jim Miller is his name. And Bo, at the line, he seems to just explode, like he's all wound up and it just, everything happens.
Real good point. Watch him drive through. He takes those short first 3 steps, then he just leaps at the foul line, explodes through those last 2 shots. Watch the pivot step as he drives down through the ball, then slides into the foul line. Good low posture, excellent result. He is the first person to have Roth behind all day. He leads by 10, can make it 20 with another strike.
All right, Jim Miller did a lot of practicing off to our right on the practice lanes prior to coming in here for our 3rd game. The first 2 won by this man. Roth with a spare up shooting in the 3rd frame, semifinal match. Sliding by 2, 4, 5, 7.
Roth, I would say, is the best spare shooter in the sport of bowling. He's known for a strike ball, but he doesn't leave many open frames. But he's got his hands full this game. As you see the ball sliding by on the right-hand lane, he leaves a 2, 4, 5, 7. Once again, a very, very difficult spare. Let's see if he can convert. He's been perfect so far all day.
Impressively, he marks with a spare. There's no in between with him. He really winds up and spares.
Jim Miller is, I guess, a little apprehensive after seeing what happened to Bellinger. Roth trailing by 24 pins, fourth frame.
Second on the PBA's all-time money list behind retired Earl Anthony. Okay, Mark Roth and Jim Miller going at it here. And while we were away, because we're running behind, Jim Miller had a strike in the fourth frame. He left the 10 on right, left.
Solid 10. Chris.
Solid 10, right. Look.
Right in there on the left-hand lane. He would have had 5 in a row, but now he has Roth down 33 pins. Roth strike working, fifth frame.
The man that just when he needs him, gets him. Mark Roth.
Used to be a tremendous power player, but like all the greats, they eventually changed their game. Remember the Dick Webbers when they were so strong, and the Mike Durbins, how they used to hook the ball. And as they get a little older, they lose a little bit of hook, but yet the great ones seem to adjust and keep the ball in play. Roth can cut the lead of Jim Miller's down to 13 pins with another strike.
Left with a 10-pin.
First time that he's really had anything go wrong in the first 3 matches. Roth winning that sudden death tiebreaker against Mark Baker in the first match, then sneaking by Jeff Bellinger as Bellinger was plagued by 2 solid 8 pins. Here in the fifth frame, he'll be trailing Jim Miller by more than 20 pins. Looks like 24 with a spare.
This is a semifinal game live from Overland Park, Kansas, leading to the final. The winner of this game will go against tournament leader Don Janello. Don, like Mark, has won here before. Don won in 1982. This man's first win, and Bo and I remember it well, was in Las Vegas. Coming to the finals, he averaged 222 for 56 games. So he'll have to cover the 4.
Perfect hits in the first 4 frames for Jim Miller. A near perfect hit. He left a solid 10 in the fifth frame. A little high here in the 6th, the 4-pin, but he's keeping the ball in play. When you bowl like that and you have a lead, it's very tough for anybody to catch up. Roth really has his hands full with this young man.
Jim Miller, Mesa, Arizona. He is one of 4 children, 2 older brothers, an older sister, all bowlers. As we mentioned, we're Milwaukee bound for the finals of the Light Beer Championship next week. Then the Fairlanes Open, Saudi, Baltimore.
And new sponsor, Old Spice, who also sponsor our bowling tips of the week. They're coming in there on April 6th from Garden City. And finally, the third jewel in bowling's Triple Crown, the prestigious Firestone Tournament of Champions, Akron, Ohio, April 20th.
Here's a man that needs to win to qualify for the Firestone. Jim Miller. Good concentration on the part of a 23-year-old with 1 victory under his belt. Going to leave Overland Park, Kansas for the moment. We'll be back. King Louie Open, semifinal match. Jim Miller has just struck in the 8th frame, giving him a double, and he's gone back to a 23-pin lead. While we were away, because we're running behind, we had to bolt through. Mark Roth came up with 2 strikes in the 7th and 8th frames. But this man has matched him and has that 23-pin lead, can increase it right here on the left lane.
Here's the frame that both Roth's opponents so far, Baker and Bellinger, have let him off the hook. Let's see what Miller does. He's got him down by 23. Could put the gauntlet on his brain right here.
High and over on the other side in a 3-6-10.
Didn't lower the hammer, and right now he gives Roth another break. Every one of the opponents has had trouble in the 9th. Bellinger getting the solid 9-pin, or solid 8-pin. Here's Jim Miller cutting through the middle of the pins, leaving the 3-6-10. He still has a nice 20-pin lead, but it's not enough against Roth. Roth has 2 working. Must concentrate on this spare.
chopped to 3 and 6 off the 10 here in the foundation frame. And, oh boy.
Well, here it is. The frame that we talked about could put away Roth. He lays the door wide open right now. Roth can take the lead with a strike. He hasn't even been close since the start of the match.
You see the 7 go out at the last minute?
Boy, he jumped all over that one, and yet he didn't get the break. Ball finishes just a little late. A little extra speed on that shot. Roth lays the 6-pin in the right-hand channel. Doesn't knock out the 10. It's going to be up to Roth to throw the double to put the pressure on Miller now. Roth with a conversion would trail by 9 pins going into the 10th.
Mark Roth battling for his 3rd win here this afternoon. Our live coverage from Overland Park, Kansas. Going against Jim Miller. Roth eliminating Mark Baker and Jeff Bellinger. Tournament leader Don Janello keeps warming up off to our right. He will meet the winner for the $21,000 first prize.
For Roth needs 2 strikes and a 9-pin count to take the lead.
And he too has a 3-6-10 on the left lane.
Major problem. Roth right now, the best he can do is a 2-11 game as he throws the ball right in the nose. The 1-2-3 zone leaves the 3-6-10, the same lead that Jim Miller just missed here in the 9th frame. He has to convert this to even have a chance, but his chances are dimming. For Roth, with a strike, he would finish with a 211 game. And Jim Miller right now, if Roth strikes, would only need 9 pins on 2 balls. It's not impossible for Roth to win, but it's very improbable right now.
Anguish on that man's face. $245. 208 for Mark Roth, who had won 2 matches.
He won 2 matches. He hung in there really well, but Jim Miller just took it to him. Roth couldn't capitalize on that open frame of Miller's in the 9th frame when Roth left the 10-pin. Miller 6 pins on 2 balls. That's an automatic. Just stay inside the building, stay behind the foul line. It's going to be Miller and Janello for the title.
There it is.
That's a winner.
Yes. Jim Miller will have his final score. Roth shooting a 2-8 in the semifinal match. Professional Bowlers Tour will continue after this message from our sponsors. Now we're down to that final match. $21,000, the winner of the King Louie Open. Right here in Overland Park, Kansas. Mark Roth eliminated in that last match. As you see, defeated by Jim Miller, 211 to 208. Miller and Janello next. The founder of the PBA, Eddie Elias, was honored on Thursday night in Tulsa, Oklahoma by the president of the American Bowling Congress, William DeHaven. Eddie was put in the ABC Hall of Fame for meritorious service. There's Eddie on the right, one of the special people deservedly inducted into the ABC Hall of Fame. And you know, we had the pleasure of being there with many of his friends and the bowling fraternity from all over the United States. His wife, Peggy, watched along with us. And then we had a chance to listen to Eddie. There's Peggy.
So many people have contributed so much so that the PBA could rise to the heights it has today, so that I could stand here today as their representative to receive this award.
Modest Eddie Elias and Rune Arledge, Jim Spence, and all of us at ABC congratulate him for a deserved honor. Billy Hardwick, Bo, you went into it in 1981. Your dad in 1964. Billy was joined by another great bowler.
Dave Sutar, my doubles partner, went in, and Billy Hardwick, the toughest guy I ever had to beat, he also got in.
Tournament leader. And Don Janello of North Merritt, Long Island, lets it be known that he is ready. Also Alfie Cohn and Moorhead Patterson, the man that developed the pin setter. It was a posthumous award for Mr. Patterson.
Alfie Cohn, one of the top amateurs around the United States and around the world for many years. Now here are the pros going at it. Jim Miller, a lot at stake, $21,000 first prize and a trip to the Firestone on April 20th. Needs to win to requalify.
All right, he shot that 211 against Mark Roth's 208. Mark will pick up a check as he heads back to New Jersey, and Jackie and Stephanie, $8,000. Miller once more.
Jim Miller, a junior league player. He placed second in the All-American Youth Games in 1979 in Washington, D.C. Graduate of Westwood High School in Mesa, Arizona, and he has been so tough in the position rounds and the championship round when he gets close.
Imagine starting at 5 years of age. That bowling ball. And he, I'm sure, in the past has seen a 310, but unfortunately it came here in the championship match.
The left-hand lane has given Jim a little bit of trouble as he plays that extreme outside line. A little pull on the ball, gets it in closer to the second arrow than he'd like. He goes into the nose, leaves the 310 baby split. In the ninth frame, he had Roth on the ropes, went high left the 3-6-10. He missed it. He needs to convert here to stay even in the match.
Back here, a nod of approval from three pros: Mike Durbin, Nelson Burton, and George Pappas, and Mark Roth.
The world's weightlifting guys will lift over 800 pounds in the snatch, in the clean and jerk, and then up to 90 miles an hour in the toboggan championships next on Wide World. Here's Janello, the tournament leader, to take the lead.
Boy, Don Janello gets smoother with age. 33 years old now. Whoops. He's not quite that old. 27. How's that?
Excellent player. North Merrick is in the New York area up on the island. He is a tremendous bowler under all conditions. I expect more of Don Janello in years to come. He's won 3 PBA titles. Feature story this week by Marshall Wiener of the Newsday says, what happened to Janello? Janello's answering it with his bowling ball.
About a mixing strike. Don Janello and a lot of amateurs probably now will go out and buy a light-colored bowling ball to get action like that on it.
He who has the gold sometimes ends up with it, huh, Chris? But it's not over yet. Jim Miller, determined young man, trails by 20. It's in the early going. 8 long frames left for that title.
Following a split conversion, 310. Now it's the 10 on the right lane for this 23-year-old. And there's Robin.
Robin looks on, travels with Jim on the tour, is always giving him encouragement and helps him with his game. She stays behind him and continually watches for the little flaws that can happen in any pro's game. Miller across lane for the 10-pin. A good spare shooter. You don't get this far in the PBA without making a lot of tough spares.
Jim Miller, quite a tennis player in the 9th grade, developed a tennis elbow, and it was hurting his bowling game, so he gave up tennis. Now, bow like you, a water skier.
Lake of the Ozarks, only about 100 miles away, Chris, from Overland Park, Kansas. We're here for the finals of the King Louie Open. The King Louie, being an apparel manufacturer and bowling conglomerate in the Midwest area, 13 states, has been a sponsor for 19 years, a coveted championship.
The spare up a strike for Jim Miller. Remember, Miller defeated Mark Roth 211 to 208 to get into the finals against Don Janello on the left. Right there in the center, Nelson, your sister.
My sister Barbara and her 2 sons, Bert and David III, and you have a good friend here, Chris.
Well, that's Dr. Gerald Gipp, president of Haskell Indian Junior College, and I'm glad to be on his board. He's quite an individual.
Janello, 21-pin lead, going for 4 in a row.
Oh, yes. Very grateful young man, Don Janello.
The graduate of Robert Morris College, majored in computer science, did a lot of his bowling at the Garden City Bowl, where we're having the Old Spice Open later on in the year. Also does a lot of bowling at the famous Paramus lanes in New Jersey, where we film the tips.
And pleasantly. Had a kidney removed and recovered and back bowling. Got a wonderful attitude. You know, it may not look as tough on the outside, but inside he is tough.
Such a disciplined player. He keeps it all together under pressure, has one of the ideal forms I've ever seen on the tour. He has a low profile, jumps across that ball return rack. Didn't like that reaction, leaves the 10-pin. With this spare, he'll maintain a 30-pin lead.
All right, Don now can rest as Jim Miller is up. And Jim has a strike. Up in the 4th, shooting the 5th. He can cut that lead to 20 pins as you look at the purse breakdown in the $130,000 total. 21, 12, 8, 6, and 5.
Jim Miller, if he could win today, would replace Sam Zurich in the Firestone Tournament of Champions, a 52-man field, basically made up of winners in the previous 12 months, 10-time champions, U.S. Open champions, and former Firestone champions. Jim's looking for a berth in that tournament.
Now trailing by only 20, Jim Miller.
What an excellent shot. Completely relaxed, just went through the ball nice and smooth, trusted to the right, got the real good reaction on the back end of the lane, drove all 10 pins in the pit. Big shot for him. Jim can cut Janello's lead, which was upwards of 30 pins early in the match, down to just 10 with another strike.
He had to start against a man that strung them in the first 4 frames.
You want to see a great shot? Watch this. He drives through with that pivot step, stays low. Look at that follow through directly towards the target, the ball between the 2nd and 3rd arrows. Now watch the pin action. Sappo drives out the 4, 5, and 7. He has a chance.
An important 6th frame strike for Don Janello, who was making the rounds earlier, introducing his fiancée, Mary Whitaker. August is the wedding date, and met her at the 1983 PBA Nationals in Toledo.
Don Janello from a bowling family. His brother Joe, an excellent amateur. His father started him in bowling. His father, since deceased, was an excellent baseball player in the Dodger organization. He'd be proud of his son. Going for a 20-pin lead.
Don has been tremendously successful this week, led 5 of the 6 rounds. All right, Jim Miller with 3 in a row, shooting in the 7th frame. That is a gutty 23-year-old.
And he keeps himself in the match. I can't remember, Chris, in a long time where we've had 4 matches on a Saturday afternoon that have gone right to the wire. The first 2 matches, Ross snuck by 2 tough opponents, Baker and Bellinger. Then Jimmy Miller defeated Mark Roth. Now it's nip and tuck against Don Janello. 1 more strike, and it would be all even through 8 frames.
Left lane. Exciting to watch perfection by these professionals, as we have for so many years and so many weeks. This being our 11th, 1985, in a series of 16. And here is Janello. His first win came right here in 1982. Double. Three in a row for the tournament leader.
One of the best disciplined players ever to come upon the tour. Ideal style. He's in perfect posture as he hits the line. He maintains that low profile, driving through with his pivot step, and holds that follow through in concentration. Tremendous in the clutch. Very few things that Don Janello can't do. As he's answered the call, Jimmy Miller trails by 10. It's up for grabs. The last 2 frames, all the marbles.
What competition. And in both cases, watch their eyes, the reflection of the soul, and it's certainly showing here in the eyes of both.
That was to maintain a 20-pin lead. He has really put the pressure on Miller. This could be the highest scoring match in a number of years. Miller has a possible 269. Janelle has a possible 279.
5 in a row, 9th frame. Never in doubt. Oh, the intensity now of these 2 professionals, Bo. That in itself is exciting, just watching them.
The best match I've seen in years since I remember Larry Lobb and Tim Harahan at the Rolaids in St. Louis going at it with 9 in a row and 10 in a row. Once again, both of these players have a chance to win. We still have a possibility of another tie match, which would initiate a 2-frame tiebreaker for the title. Miller needs a strike to even the match up. 10th frame.
Disaster down the road.
What a bad break. Here he throws a ball. He thinks he has a chance. It looks good. It cuts through that sharp 1-3 pocket, leaving the 4-9 split. Watch his reaction. Disaster. He still has an outside chance. He must make this split.
Accepting the challenge. Look at that. Oh.
Slides the 4 into the 9.
Young man, baby blues, sort of looks like a young Robert Goulet, doesn't he?
Tremendous 2 shots there in the clutch. He needs 9 or 10 pins to force Don Janello, the tournament leader, to mark for the title.
Hats off to 23-year-old Jim Miller of Mesa, Arizona. A 246.
Good shot by Jim Miller. He just keeps it in the zone where he can get a good count, 9 pins. This forces Don Janello to get a strike or a spare to win the match. If he gets 9 and misses it, he would tie.
And Don way back had a big problem, Bo. We remember that one. Thinking it already lost the title game, put it in the channel.
Back 2 years ago in Los Angeles. That guarantees a tie, Chris. He needs to convert this to win. If he would miss this spare, both players would end up with a 246. Once again, it would initiate a 2-frame tiebreaker roll-off for the title. If he makes the spare, he's the winner.
Remember, we started with a tie. 232 all Mark Baker, Mark Roth. 50-38 2-frame roll-off. But there's that 1 pin. And Don Janello won here in 1982. A heartbreak for Jim Miller, who eliminated Mark Roth and then met the tournament leader. It'll be in the 250s for the winner. We'll tell you that when we come back. To 246. Don Janello winning it twice here. Bob Palin is president of King Louie International. He has a most unusual trophy and a check.
Don, congratulations on winning the 1985 King Louie Open. Here's the plaque for you, and it's my pleasure to present you this first place check for $21,000.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank everybody here at King Louie. The people here always treat me great. The fans are great. I just love coming here. I'm looking forward to coming back next year.
A little bit of a dowry now for that wedding in August.
Oh, yeah. This is going to be the first trophy for the new place in Perrysburg, Ohio, with my fiancée, Mary Whitaker.
Congratulations to both of you. 258 to 246. Nice going. Okay, here at Overland Park, we invite you to stay tuned next. For ABC's Wide World of Sports, today you'll see spectacular performances from the world's strongest men at the World Cup Weightlifting Championship. Also, Cresta in the World International Toboggan Championship from San Moritz, Switzerland. Travel arrangements made through a promotional fee paid by United. United flies to Hong Kong for more.